I'm Daryn Brantley, Daryn Brantley. I'm athletic director at Marlowe.
All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of looking back at the school year for the 2025-2026 school year. We're here with Daryn Brantley, the coach and athletic director for Marlowe Public Schools, and he's also a Hall of Famer. That is an awesome feat. Oklahoma Coaches Association has named their new class. You were one of two in Stevens County to be inducted this year. So tell me just how that felt. How did you find out about it?
Well, we have the meeting for the induction committee who votes on the new class. That takes place in March, and so then got a letter in the mail, and of course, in a phone call confirmation from the OCA office, letting me know. And it's just a tremendous honor. I've coached for 30 plus years and been in that athletic director the last few years since I gave up coaching, but just to be considered to be a part of that group is tremendously humbling. Just think about the coaches that I played for at Rush Springs: Coach Tunnell, Joe Tunnell, Barry Foster, Phil Landrum. All three of them are in the Hall of Fame. And then think about the Hall of Fame coaches from Marlowe: Civil Pickett, Bob Patterson, Ron Newby. And Bill Carter. And I'm maybe leaving somebody out, just trying to think off the top of my head, but just to be at those two schools and to be considered among those coaches. But then you just think about all the ones across the state throughout our association's history, and just to be a part of that Hall of Fame. It's very humbling.
Definitely. And so, obviously, one of the things that we're going to talk about this video session is to talk about the 25-2026 school year. We're going to start with the fall sports. Obviously, the football program has been a very stable program under Coach Weber. So let's talk about that one a little bit first. Obviously they had a pretty far trip into the state tournament. So just tell me a little bit about that football program and how it feels as the athletic director having a stable program like that.
Well, and having coached football for 25 years, that's a big part of my life. So, football is very important. Being able to coach football at Marlowe for several years, it's an important part of our overall program, obviously. But tremendous success the last few years. Of course, won state championship in 21. Then in the last 3 years, 3 straight trips to the semifinals. So we've come up just a little short of our goals, but I know there's a lot of people who would love to make it to the semifinals. But for us, we've gotten to a point where not getting past the semifinals and making it to the state title game is, I don't want to say a disappointment, but it's kind of
an
unfulfilled season. Yeah. Right. Just because the goal is, gold balls. We've kind of traded off a little bit, winning district titles. Won a few along the way. Finished runner-up. And been able to host some playoff games, which is always exciting. But we've been able to go on the road and win games on the road as well. And just like I said, it's just been a great run the last few years. We've got some kids coming. We think that we're going to be able to continue to make that run. Obviously, fixing to make the jump back into 3A. We've been in 2A for the last 2 years, and so fixing to go back to 3A. So that'll be a bit of a change, but we're excited about the district. Going to be very competitive. 3A, there's not any weeks off. It's every school, every team is a good program. It's a team that can beat you if you're not bringing your A game every Friday night.
Definitely. Well, let's talk a little bit about the softball program because, obviously there will be a change going into next year. But one of the constants I noticed that is, you have the softball program that, is starting to build back up, I feel. So just tell me a little bit about how you feel like that's going in the right direction at this point.
Right. Do have a coaching change there. Coach Bumpus, she resigned for family reasons. Her and her husband, in fact, just had a baby this last week. And so excited for them. Hate to lose her, but understood she's prioritizing her family right now. And so I can sure respect that. So we've hired Sophie Williams. Sophie is from Texas, but she played softball at USAO, was a pitcher there, an outstanding pitcher, and then she was served as an assistant with us last year. So she's going to take over as head coach. The kids are excited. She does a tremendous job. They've already had a camp this last week with for the youth in the community, and had a great turnout for that. And so a lot of excitement about the softball program, and really feel like they're building back, as you said, kind of to where we were a few years ago, and getting the girls interested, getting the girls dedicated, and do it, put in the work necessary to get back to hopefully the state tournament again.
Definitely. And I want to kind of do a little brag about the the new coach that you guys hired, because obviously I was a big part of, I'm a USAO alum.
Mm-hmm.
So she is a graduate of USAO, and she actually was part of a program that I'm good friends with the head coach there.
Okay.
And she just raves about Sophie. So I think that's going to be a great hire for you guys. And I do want to mention, y'all, I think y'all did an associate head coach, and that's
Yes.
she's a longtime staple in the program. Let's talk a little bit about.
Julie McCauley. Julie has been at Marlowe for a long time. She serves as a basketball assistant. She served as a softball assistant, and she just is a tremendous asset to all of our programs. And so she's going to kind of help to be a little bit of a buffer for Sophie. Of course, just starting off, as first year head coach.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of things that Sophie's trying to adjust to. She's going to have a lot of responsibilities just from the administrative side of things, and then trying to coach, and also so Coach McCauley, she's going to be there to kind of help get through some of those hurdles, and then kind of be a buffer for some things, and just to help her along the way, and so we feel like that's going to be a great mix of those two. And then of course Nolan Hershock is the other assistant, and he's another young coach, a tremendous coach, but he comes from a family of educators and coaches. His dad Eddie Hershock's an assistant football and baseball coach for us. His mom Amy is our high school counselor and assistant cheerleading coach, and Nolan played baseball at USAO as well, and so just a great background there. So we're really excited about. We've got a great mix of not only some youth with our coaches and excitement that they'll bring, but then also the experience of Coach McCauley, and she just has coached with a lot of great coaches, and she understands not just the game itself, but understands all the other little things that are associated with it that makes a great program.
Definitely. And so cross country is the last fall sport that you guys have. So obviously you mentioned a little bit earlier at the beginning that, that program is going to go a little bit of shift and changes on the coaches. But just tell me that, cross country is you guys usually host a really big meet every year. And just tell me a little bit about cross country.
Mikey Eves has been our main cross-country coach for the boys and girls for the last several years. Dr. Matt Ivory has been assisting, and then also kind of took over as head coach of one of the programs a couple years ago. Coach Eves is going to step back just a little bit from some of his responsibilities. Coach Ivory is going to take over, and he's going to be the head high school boys and girls coach. Coach Eves is going to continue to be the head coach for the junior high programs. But yes, cross country's seen a lot of success. Have state qualifiers. We've had kids being named to the All-Star by class teams, things like that, and so have decent numbers there. It's a difficult sport. It's not for everyone, and so you got to respect those kids. It's a little different than some of the others where you may have 40 or 50 kids come out. Not everybody likes to run, so it takes a special type of person. So, like I said, but we still have good numbers, kids that are wanting to participate, and then Coach Eves and Coach Ivory do a great job with our young gunners, our little kids. They have a little camp for them, and they get a chance to run the race before our big races in the meet that we host. There at the beginning of the fall, and so that's a great opportunity for them, and they enjoy that.
All right, so now we're going to transition into the winter sports. Obviously, the big winter sports there for the Marlowe is basketball and wrestling programs. We're going to talk a little bit about basketball first. I was just talking to you a little bit earlier. I believe the Marlowe boys program has just broke the record in the county tournament for most years won in a row with 6. So, obviously that's a testament to Coach Harris, who is retiring. But, obviously it's also a testament of how that program has been built. So just tell me a little bit about the basketball program.
Well, I think a lot of times people overlook the fact that just consistency means so much to programs and to teams. Coach Harris has been at Marlowe and Marlowe only for his 40+ years of coaching. In fact, this coming Saturday, he's going to be inducted into the Oklahoma Basketball Coaches Association Hall of Fame at UCO. So we're excited for him and proud of him for that. Well-deserving honor for him. But he has done a great job in the past coaching both the boys and at one time the girls as well. There was a year that he coached both teams to help us out several years ago in a bind. So he's coached the boys and girls, but here recently, and mainly because of his sons that were coming through, wanted to be able to coach them. And of course, his boys were tremendous athletes and basketball players as well. And so, but he just felt like it was time to make that change. And of course, hired his son Brock to be the new head. Of course, Brock had been his assistant for the last several years, one of the assistants along with Coach Weber, and all three of them do a tremendous job with our high school program. It always helps to have the great athletes, have good basketball players, and we've been blessed with that. But as far as just X's and O's, they do a great job getting prepared. You think about the Stevens County. You've got a lot of great programs there. Velma and others. They're just and to be able to win 6 straight, that's quite an accomplishment.
Definitely. And so the girls program, obviously Coach Robbins is there, and she's been there, I think, 2 or 3 years, I think. So Coach Robbins is obviously, a really good coach, and I feel like that's a good person to have at the lead. Just talk a little bit about the girls program, because I know that they, obviously had a couple seniors that are graduating, but they also had a pretty young team. So just tell me, how that looks for this next season coming up.
Yeah. And, talked about a moment ago with Coach Harris, just the continuity in a program and having the same coaches, it just helps so much. And, one thing that has been maybe a problem preventing the girls from being as successful is we've had quite a bit of turnover over the years as far as our head girls basketball coaches, and no fault of the girls their own. It's just sometimes that's the coaching business. It just happens. But we've had several head coaches the last 10 or 12 years, and we're excited to have her. And I think she's at Marlowe to stay. We sure hope so. She's doing a great job developing a weight program and off-season training programs to get the girls bigger and faster and stronger. And 3A, or sometimes we're in 4A basketball, and it's very physical. And so to get those girls to a level that they can compete, from a physical standpoint. And he said we had 3 seniors, three really good seniors that had started for us for several years. I hate to lose them, but we do have a great bunch coming. We've got some freshmen that are really talented, some 8th graders and all. So we're excited about the future for the girls basketball.
Well, let's talk about the wrestling program, because obviously the last couple of years, girls wrestling has ramped up a little bit, and you guys actually had the first state champion in girls in Stevens County, only by like a couple weight classes, because obviously Comanche had one. So, but just tell me a little bit about the wrestling program in general, because I know the wrestling program, is another program like football that they're chasing for the gold all the time.
Right. And, they would probably all would admit that this last year was a disappointment to them. A lot of people say, well, you made it to dual state tournament, and had, finished right there at the end, didn't win it, didn't finish runner up, but I believe we're 3rd there. And then at the state tournament, finished 4th. And so there's a lot of schools would love to be able to do that. But, for our kids, they're used to winning, state titles in wrestling, either in the state tournament or in dual state. And so, we're not doing that, then they'd consider it again kind of not kind of an unfulfilled season. Didn't reach all of our goals, but still though still have to be proud of what they're accomplishing. Coaches and the wrestlers, they work hard and they do what they need to try to get better. We've got a bunch of younger kids coming that we're excited about, and so wrestling program, a lot of bright future for them as well.
Well, I will mention one of them. I know that we're trying not to mention that many individual players, but there is one that was really stood out with Tommy Miller. He won his 3rd state championship, was also named outstanding wrestler for the whole tournament. And I believe, if I might have to correct myself on this, first father-son duo to win outstanding wrestling. So obviously that family is just a huge, wrestling family, but just to have him just tell me a little bit about, just having those awards.
Oh, sure. That's impressive for what they've been able to accomplish. Of course, his dad, Ray, graduated from Marlowe, wrestled at Arizona State, went on to have a great career there. And then Tommy, that's big shoes to fill. That's a lot of pressure
Yeah.
there. And he did a great job, preparing and getting to where he could, follow in, those footsteps, not just his dad's, but all the other great wrestlers that we've had there at Marlowe. So, yes, for him to be named outstanding wrestler, and then, as you said, be the first father-son duo to do that, and then he had a chance to participate in the Oklahoma All-Stars that went to Pennsylvania and wrestled. So getting to do a lot of great things, and he's going to be able to go on to college, and he's actually going to wrestle and play golf on the next level. So proud of Tommy and his accomplishments and that family as well.
Definitely. And so now let's transition into the spring sports. Obviously, there's a lot going on in spring usually. I mean, we're talking baseball, track, and then baseball and track are all two big ones, golf. So obviously, one of the things that we want to highlight at the beginning is golf, girls golf, winning the state championship in Duncan, which was a really cool feat to be able to host the state tournament this year. But to be able to, in the past, the girls have won it on the road, but to be able to win it in Stevens County, that has to be a big eye-opening key for you guys.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just for the territory to host the tournament, we appreciate them doing that, because that's a lot of work that's involved with that. But they've been very good to host several of the classes the last several years. We were just glad that this year the 3A girls were able to play out there, and so for them to go and perform like they did. And then, of course, Corey Scott was the top individual. It was a great finish for her. And so to go out on top like that, winning the state championship, then having her being finishing as the top individual placer, all state, and then also to win the academic state championship, share of that with Lindsay as well. That was so they won just about everything they could, for the girls golf season. And then the boys had another good season as well. A year ago they finished runner-up up at Shangri-La. This year they were at very close to Shangri-La. They were just outside of Grand Lake on the other side, and at the Coves, and they finished sixth. And so, another great season for them.
And let's talk about the baseball program. Third state tournament in a row. I think third state championship game in a row, I believe. So, obviously, again, another. I feel like I'm a broken record when I'm talking about the boys programs a little bit, because they obviously go so far, and it's almost like you said earlier, they may not think that they met their goal, but most schools would love to be in that position.
Right. Like you said, three straight state title games. I'd have to go back and look. Probably 8 or 9 straight state tournament appearances. Just right in the mix every year. Just came a little bit short, but that's the way it goes for everybody. There's only one team that finishes on top and finishes happy and felt like everything's all their goals were completed. And so there was a disappointment for not coming up just a little bit short, but again, just a great season. This year had the most wins of any team in Marlowe school history. Just the things they were able to do, just a great season, and proud of them and their efforts.
And let's transition to the track program, because obviously track is a huge sport in Marlowe, because you have some history with that sport, obviously having some Olympians and some really good assets to use for the track program. So just tell me a little bit about the track season.
Boys, they had another great year. Came up just a little bit short. They were regional runner-up, and then went to state and competed at Catoosa. Did well. We had some kids that placed in their individual events. Had some relay teams, that placed well. The girls, we had several of them that are continuing to grow and continuing to get better. And we're going to have a little bit of a change in those programs. Coach Tammy Miller, she's been our girls head coach for the last several years. She's retiring from coaching. She's going to continue to do some teaching, but getting out of the coaching. And so Coach Wortham, who's been our head boys coach, and then Coach Ivory, who'd been kind of an assistant boys coach, they're going to kind of take over as co-head coaches. We're going to kind of make a little bit of a organizational change as far as our track programs. And then that way our assistant coaches can to work mainly with the individual events,
Yeah.
and then they'll have the boys and girls working with them, in the high jump or in the long jump or the hurdlers or the distance runners or sprinters or whatever. And so we think that's going to make it more efficient. Uh, give a chance for these kids to get more coaching, be more consistent across the board. And so, like I said, Coach Wortham, Coach Ivory are going to be kind of the co-head coaches for our boys and girls programs. And the boys' numbers, they usually have at least 50 out. Girls, we had, I think, 25 or 30 this year.
Yeah.
And then we've got a good number in junior high. And so those numbers are going to continue to grow.
So let's kind of transition into next year, looking into next year, but also finishing up this past school year. Obviously, we mentioned college signings, the huge thing. There was 11 that we know of, and so just tell me a little bit about if you could summarize this school year into maybe one or two sentences. If you can't, that's fine. Yeah. But like maybe just like a small little blip of what.
Sure. Well, as I said, we have high expectations, and because of our past successes, and that's great. It's a great problem to have, and sometimes, as I mentioned, there's disappointment when we don't get that goal ball or we don't make it to the title game or whatever, and we have to be able to look back and just say, hey, it was still a tremendously successful season, or we had a great year for all of our programs. We had our athletic awards ceremony a couple weeks ago, and we had the girls state championship for golf. They had the baseball state runner-up trophy, and then we had our academic state championships, which cannot be understated. I mean, we're as proud of those, or maybe more proud than the athletic championships, because that's showing just a well-rounded individual, a true student athlete in our programs. And so the girls basketball and boys basketball both won the 3A academic state championships. The boys wrestling won the 3A academic state championship. Our girls program won the 5A girls state championship for academics. And so to have all those trophies, and so like, you look up here and you got, 7, trophies, that's a tremendous year. I mean, for some schools, that's their school history,
right?
So that's just and I said, let's don't say, hey, it wasn't the year that we wanted, because obviously the success we've had is just something that we're proud of all of our kids, the hard work that they put in. Appreciate the parents, the community for the support that they give us. Appreciate their school board, our administration, Mr. Holland, everything he does for us. I mean, we're set up for success. We have everything, in place to continue to build and hopefully just get even better in the future.
Definitely. And so let's lastly talk about next school year. Obviously, the prep is starting for it. Obviously, you mentioned a little bit that Marlowe football is moving up to Class 3A. That's one of the big things. But just tell me I don't know if they've set goals yet, but obviously you want to continue that success, I would assume.
Sure. They've already started. I know the girls basketball, they're at camp this week. Team camp, of course, our coaches have put on, we talked about the youth camps. We've had baseball and softball and basketball youth camps, and got another one coming up later on, did the wrestling youth camp. So trying to develop these younger kids and encourage them and motivate them. But just already have a lot going on. Baseball, they had their first summer league games last night, middle school and high school. Softball, they'll start their summer league games that we've hosted for years. They'll start the 15th of this month, so just coming up here in a couple of weeks, that'll be going. And most of the surrounding school districts participate in that, Monday and Tuesday nights. Now football, we do things a little differently, and people just kind of don't understand. Sometimes we don't do spring football.
Right.
Most everybody's going to do it, but we have kids that are involved from August all the way through to pretty much the very end of school.
Right.
Our seasons generally, run long. Football runs right into the start of basketball, and then basketball and wrestling, we're in the playoffs, and we run right into baseball and track. And so these kids, they are end of the year, they're tired, they need a break, and so Coach Weber says, hey, we'll get done what we need to get done come August. And so,
Right.
and in fact, he's given them a couple of weeks off. They won't start Summer Pride for another couple of weeks, which I
Right.
know get in there and they'll start lifting. And then, of course, they'll have the dead period for I would say over the fourth weekend, those days before and after, and then they'll hit it hard in July, and then we'll be ready to go in August. But yeah, there's a lot going on during the summer, and a lot of work put in by these kids and the coaches as well, and we appreciate all that effort. And yeah, it's going to be another exciting year. Like I said, it'll be a change moving to 3A. It's a challenge, but we're looking forward to that challenge. We feel like we're going to be able to compete. We've got some important spots to fill. You lose some very good football players, but we've got some coming also. Softball, we're excited about what they're going to be able to do. Only lost 3 seniors. Of course, they were key starters and players, but we've got a good group coming up. Our group of juniors, real excited about them and what they're going to be able to bring to the field, and all the rest of the sports as well. We feel like we're just we're reloading, not rebuilding.
Right.
So,
well, I do want to mention something because I forget. There is one little transition that I forgot. Next year is the first year for the shot clock for basketball. So that's going to be a change for the people who are in the stands watching, because obviously I think it's I forget what class it starts at. I think it's 3A.
I was thinking it was 2A.
It may be 2A.
I know we have to do it. That's all I worry
about.
Right,
exactly. So tell me a little bit of how that looks for you guys, because I know that obviously, they gave you a year leadway so you all can get like the stuff ready to install and everything. Do you guys have that available?
We've purchased some small portable shot clocks so that we can move back and forth between the Dome Gym or the Outlaw Gym or to some of the other facilities. So they've started working with those, kind of getting used to that, because it's going to be different. Knowing that you got to get a shot put up, a certain length of time instead of just passing around and looking for that best shot. And so we will be putting in installing the shot clocks in the gym, and of course that's just one more thing that we have to do is try to find somebody who's going to run that.
Right.
They're just that's one of those extra things that the responsibility's got to have somebody to keep the books, got to have somebody to keep the run the scoreboard, somebody to and we have a separate one that runs the clock itself, because running the scoreboard, trying to enter the players as they sub in and out, and keeping track of points and fouls, with our video board, it takes a little bit more work. So it's hard to try to start and stop the clock and do that as well. So we already have 2 people that have done that. So probably going to need a third now. Right. So if anybody's interested, call me.
Right.
We'll put you to work.
Anyway, it's going to be good work.
Yeah. So, but anyway, no, it's going to be a little bit of a change. But I think once everybody kind of gets used to it, kind of sees what it's going to look like, I think it's going to be a positive change.
I think so too, because there's been some times where I've been to games and I'll reference one from many years ago. 4-2 was the final score,
yes.
And in basketball, that's not heard of very often. 4-2, and it's because no one wanted to take a shot because they were content with their game plan. So I think this is going to be a great movement for the state to have this available. So, well, Coach, I think we're about wrapped up here. Obviously, like you said, it's starting.
It's here.
Yep.
It is.
All righty. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.